Hello friends, we can start today's class with the logical reasoning itself. Okay, today also we are going to deal with some of the subtopics of logical reasoning. Reasoning, okay, reasoning, its components, valid and invalid arguments, and it's some extension we have to study here. Then inductive and deductive reasoning, that's an important area. Usually they will ask inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. Then connotation and denotation. It is another word usually we hear in the logical reasoning. So we will discuss about these subtopics in today's class. Without wasting time, I think we can start on with our class. Be attentive to the class, all of you, okay? Reasoning. Okay, reasoning, its components. Okay. Reasoning means you have to find or think about a thing. You have to think about a thing is what we call as reasoning it. So it contains two things. One is argument and another is conclusion. So reason contains two components. One is argument and another is conclusion. So argument, okay, argument again it's divided into two parts. What are the two parts? One is premise and another is conclusion. Okay, one is argument is divided into two, that is one is premise and another is conclusion. So premise can be called as another names also, that is statements, or it can also be called as proposition. Sometimes in question paper we see it as a proposition, so you don't worry, the same meaning, that is premise, statements, proposition is the same thing as the argument, and proposition is there and conclusion is also there in the argument. Okay, next is premises. These premises or propositions or statements, it can be true or it can be false. The premises can be true, that is premise 1 can be true, premise 1 can be true, or it can be false, like that it can. And in the case of argument, okay, when we consider the argument, it can be valid or invalid. Okay, they have sometimes asked the questions, premise can be valid or invalid, then it is wrong. Premise can be true or false, and arguments can be valid or invalid. Okay, it is very clear about it. So reasoning contains two parts, argument and conclusion. And in an argument, we can see the premise as well as conclusion. Okay, and the premise can be true or false, and argument is valid or invalid. So I think you are somewhat clear about the area. I think it is very simple thing. So you get an idea about what I have to do. Next is valid or invalid arguments. Okay, how we can find an argument is valid or invalid. Valid arguments, that is premise is true. Okay, in an valid argument, the premise is true, then conclusion is also true. That is P1 and P2 true, then conclusion is true. Then one or more premise false, then conclusion can be true or false. That is, sometimes P1 is false and P2 is true, then conclusion can be true or it can be false. Sometimes P1 is true and the P2 is false, then the conclusion can be false or true. So like that we can see in the arguments. Okay, P1, P2 and conclusion is there. So premise can be true, conclusion can be true. And when the argument get invalid, this only you study this one, that's easy for you. That is invalid argument if premise 1 is true and premise 2 is true and conclusion is false. That is TTF. True, P1 is true and P2 is true and conclusion is false is given, then that argument is false. Understood? So you study this one, that is easy for you. If you study invalid argument, then all arguments are valid. Okay, if you study the invalid argument, this tip, that is true, true, false. If it is given like that, then it is invalid, and all other are valid arguments. Okay, so you study this. It's a rule about the argument, valid and invalid arguments. I think now you are clear about it. You must study this rule. Okay. Next is reasoning. Two type of reasoning is there. So we have studied some of the tips now. That is elements of reasoning, arguments and conclusions there, and reasonings. It has two types is there. Two type reasoning is there. One is inductive and another is deductive reasoning. What is inductive reasoning? Inductive in means from specific to general. Okay, it's from specific to general. Okay, such kind of examples is analogical reasoning. That is as, like that things they will ask. Empirical reasoning, experimental reasoning, all this will come under inductive reasoning. Okay, it's like a pyramid. It is like a pyramid. You know what is pyramid? Pyramids, you see, it's a tomb that's made for the pharaohs in Egypt. Okay, its shape is like a triangle. Okay, like a pyramid. Inductive reasoning is like a pyramid, and doubt as is usage in it. We can see the usage of as in the case of inductive reasoning. Okay, doubt we can see in it. Okay, example for this inductive reasoning, easy for you to understand how we are finding the inductive reasoning. Okay, is from specific to general. Earth revolves around the sun. Okay, you know that the earth is going around the sun. Mars revolves around the sun. That also we know that the Mars is moving around the sun. All planets are revolving around the sun. So they said about first specific planets. Okay, Earth is a planet, Mars is a planet. They talk about that things. Later they told that all the planets are revolving around the sun. So from specific to general they are talking about. Okay, from a particular point they are talking to the general things. That is what we are using in the inductive type of reasoning. Understood? So that is what we call as inductive reasoning. So specific to general is the specialty of inductive reasoning. And there are two types of reasoning. One is inductive, another is deductive reasoning. I think now you are clear about the inductive reasoning. Okay. Next is deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning, it is general to specific. General to specific means you are talking about the general things. Later we will come to the point. Okay. Sure. Logical. Yeah, like that words we can see in the deductive reasoning. So their surety is there because already it is proved. Okay, proved things are there. Then you have to just going whether it's right or wrong. You are just checking only you are doing. So it surety is there in the case of deductive reasoning. Top to down is the method of deductive reasoning, and it's an inverted pyramid. You know that deductive is an inverted pyramid we are using here. Syllogism is come under this deductive reasoning. Okay, we are doing syllogism. We have seen the logical reasoning, making some circles and all you are doing, and some sentences are given and you want to find whether it is right or wrong, like that you have to find that syllogism you are using. Reasoning is needed there. So deductive reasoning, syllogism come under deductive reasoning. Then conclusion follows premise. According to the premise, if it is true, then the conclusion is true, like that. It always follows the premises. And valid or invalid, it can be valid or it can be invalid. We can see in the case of deductive reasoning. Okay. Then its continuation is the example of deductive reasoning. We can see the example of deductive reasoning is that they first talk about general things. All men are mortal. You know, every man is mortal. Okay, each and every person will die. We know that. Socrates is a man. Okay, the Socrates is a man. So Socrates belongs to the group of human beings. Socrates is mortal. So from the general to specific, they are talking about. Understood? So first they talk about all human beings, then they talk about Socrates, then he can also be the part of it, so it will happen to him also. So this is general to specific is the method of deductive reasoning. Okay. Next is connotation and denotation. Connotation means expressive meaning or literary meaning. Some words have some literary meaning is the literary we mean some other thing and it has a different meaning in the dictionary. Denotation, D, you always think it is connected to dictionary. Denotation is connected to dictionary. It's a dictionary meaning means more meaning to a word. Word had a different meaning. It has noun, one meaning is the, when it is using for gerund form, some other meaning is the. So like that, in dictionary, there is a lot of meaning for a word. One word has some different meanings. For connotation means it's an expressive meaning or literary meaning, what we call as connotative meaning. Then facts, you know, facts means truths. Okay, it can be three types. Okay, facts it can be three types. One is opinion. Opinion means someone has an idea about it. Belief means already existing thing, and prejudice means we have judged about it earlier itself. That is what we call as prejudice. Facts is of three types. That is opinion, belief, and prejudice. Opinion is reasonable. Opinion is reasonable means because of this reason I have such and such reasons for that, and a conclusion is the opinion in the case. Okay, and belief means by culture we have a mindset. That is what we call as a belief. Okay, belief is something it is already in our memory or in our brain that is get through by our culture, by the parents, family, society. All this we have something in our mindset. Okay, Prejudice means find earlier about a thing. Before happening, we think that this will happen. That is what we call prejudice. Okay. So facts is of three types. That is opinion, belief, and prejudice is there. Okay. So I think somewhat you are clear about all the topics today's I have given. So today we discuss about the reasoning. Okay, reasoning is an important part, and it has two parts. That is arguments and conclusion. And argument again have that premises as well as conclusion is there. So whether argument is what we call as valid and invalid, and premises we call it as true or false. And we talked about deductive and inductive reasoning. It is very important. Usually we can see questions from inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. Inductive is something that is from specific to general, and in deductive that is general to specific. And what is connotation? It is literary meaning. Denotation, it is dictionary meaning. Okay. And I think you get a clear about all this. Some small areas we have to clear about in the logical reasoning. So they will ask sometimes question from this area. So you should be clear about it. I have given it in a clear way. You have gone through it, I think so, and go through it. Study well properly. What I have given you. Study the laws which I am giving. Okay, if you study the laws, it's easy for you to understand whether the argument is valid or invalid. I told you if it is an invalid argument, then that is premise 1 and premise 2 is true and the conclusion is false, then it is an invalid argument. I told you. Like that points you have to keep in mind. Okay, then it is easy for you to study the logical reasoning. It is like a maths. Okay, if you study it, you can score full marks. Okay, and then I think you are clear about it. Don't forget to subscribe this channel. We can meet the next class. Okay, goodbye all of you.